It's with pleasure to welcome Katie and Giancarlo Caldesi and Jenny Phillips.
Well, I'm here really just to talk about how my husband changed from one kind of person to another kind of person. And it happened very slowly, and it happened right in front of my eyes. And if only I'd had a little bit more knowledge, I might have been able to help him earlier. 21 years ago, I met this man who was crazy, mad Italian, full of energy and fun and enthusiasm for life. I was a painter, and I painted murals, and Giancarlo commissioned me to paint a mural in one of his restaurants in London. And over the period of a few months, I fell in love with his pasta, and he fell in love with my painting.
Starch content.
Or so he told me. Well, I know, I didn't worry about carbs then. I ate lots of pasta. And we had a fantastic time, and we travelled back and forth to Italy. We learned to cook Tuscan food, where Giancarlo's from. I learned Italian. We wrote one cookbook. We opened another restaurant. And we made a TV series as well called Return to Tuscany for BBC Two. And we actually got married on television. And that's us in Tuscany. Travelling the roads of Tuscany, working with chefs and people in their homes up and down Italy. It was just a wonderful time. There's us getting married, which was even more nerve-wracking than this because we had 5 cameras on us, and it was the pilot for our TV series. And then we wrote another 11 books. So we were very busy, eating and drinking and having a whale of a time, until a dark and menacing cloud moved over our lives, as I say, right in front of us, but we just hadn't clicked what was going on. One of Giancarlo's nicknames by his customers in the restaurant was Tigger, because he was so energetic. But sadly, over the years, he became a little bit more like Eeyore. And, his feet hurt. He put on weight, particularly around his middle. He was hangry, as we called him, because he would come in from work and he would say, I want to eat now. And he was always hungry. And he would devour a fruit bowl. I mean, like 2 melons, a couple of mangoes, bananas. He ate lots and lots of bananas. He was always tired. He was asleep if he wasn't eating. Sorry, Giancarlo. I feel very disloyal here. But he had changed. He had changed into someone else. He never had time to play football with the kids. He couldn't do it anyway because his feet hurt, and he was always rushing off to the loo. This got so bad, really, that one day, so this was Giancarlo on the sofa and asleep with his phone, and he was often asleep, actually. Anyway, I'll move on from that to happier times. But so one day he was driving home and he stopped off in the car and he called me and he said, something really scary's happened. I just lost my eyesight as I was driving and it went blurred and I pulled into one side. Anyway, he managed to make it back home again. And we said, you've got to go to the doctors now. So it was the weekend. He went to see a private doctor who luckily had time to talk to him about all his different symptoms, put 2 and 2 together and ran blood tests. And a week later told him that he had diabetes type 2. Giancarlo came home and told me. And I suppose I didn't take it terribly seriously. I thought, well, lots of people have got that, so what's the issue, really? We went to see his GP. We went to see a dietitian. The dietitian showed us this book of lots of images of pasta and said, you're probably eating this, you need to eat this much pasta. I'd been telling him that for years, so I didn't see that he was suddenly going to listen to someone else now. She told him to cut back on sugar. So we tried. We made a bit of a change to our diets, but really we were cooking home, freshly cooked food all the time. We either eat at home when we cook or we eat in one of our restaurants. So I didn't really know what we were doing wrong. And actually, over 2 years, his HbA1c climbed from 49 millimoles to 79 millimoles. So he got worse, not better. I had IBS at the time, and I was also overweight from all this partying and eating and drinking and cooking. And I kept reading about healthy food. And I read the book Wheat Belly, and it made me think, oh, maybe I'm gluten intolerant. So I thought I'll give up wheat for a while. And Giancarlo said, well, I'll join you. 3 days later, it made no difference to me whatsoever, but he felt amazingly better. Giancarlo had arthritis and his knuckles were swollen, and his hands completely changed within 3 days. So we began to think, well, something's a bit strange here, so we better go and get this checked out. I was recommended by a mutual friend to go and see Jenny, our nutritionist, and so Jenny ran some blood tests and said, you better stop eating wheat right now. So poor Giancarlo, Italian chef, had no pizza, no pasta, no more little shoe buns.
Terrible life.
No more sugar in his cappuccino,
Yeah.
no more bread. Poor
6
thing.
cappuccino, 2 sugar each. Amazing. More
Yes.
than 3 bananas.
No more bananas. So we tried gluten-free pasta, we tried gluten-free bread, he didn't like it. Luckily, I like a challenge, so I started cooking all sorts of things that he could have with his pasta sauce. We used almond flour to make bread and cakes. We started eating lots more vegetables, and at the same time we were commissioned to write a cookbook called Around the World in Salads, which was actually very, very good timing. So inadvertently, we were following a low-carb diet. We didn't know we didn't know that such a thing existed, but what seemed like a disaster to find out that he was gluten intolerant was probably his lifesaver. And I'll let you tell the rest of the story.
Thank you. Well, my name is Giancarlo Caldesi. I'm 67 years old, and I literally can stand in one leg. But I can do it properly, if you like, even like this. He would wonder why I say this. I was having peripheral neuropathy, and I couldn't feel my feet, actually. I think what really is the problem of life is that I genuinely never knew where I was. I never really thought that by walking like this, it's okay, because you don't know, your brain doesn't know where your feet are. So what's the problem? I walk like this, is me. I can't get up from the chair. I'll ask anybody to help me. What's the problem? My son does my laces, my shoelaces. I can't do, what's the problem? I really felt and feel as a patient, what is the problem with everybody as we accept who we are at the moment that we are. And we forgot who we were. That's the key of life. I prepare a few things here, but I really don't care to throw all that away, really. It's not important. No, it's not important, because what I heard today here, all of you, everybody in this little thing here, spoke, food is bad, food is this, food is that. But actually, does anybody care to really do something seriously about it, to stop people bribing other people, to spoil our countryside, to do the things that we shouldn't do? Forgive me, I was here walking by, okay? Just going out, and I don't know if I can, the one did it, she know. A lady just dropped a napkin on there. Why? That's what we do. We drop litter all around us, and we drop litter inside us. Sorry, who owns a performance car here? Ferrari, Lamborghini? Please don't be shy, you got money, who cares? Anybody's got a performance car here? Anybody, a real car, like a big Mercedes or something like that, surely? You got a car, wow, yeah, well done, thank you. You have a car which is fantastic. You pay a lot of money for it. Oh, wow, nobody touches it. The kids go around, you smack them because they touch your car. And you're so jealous, you go out, and then the car, it has a specific petrol inside, why don't you put a few bottles of vodka instead of the petrol? Do you think the car will move anywhere? No, it won't. Why do we do that to our body? I'm here simply, ladies and gentlemen, I've never done this before, and I don't care if I do it again. But what I care is that you should understand that I'm totally pissed off, not being well, but I'm happy to be well. But to understand that, it's a job of the healthcare system, not the woolly system with so many things, you do this, you do that, and nothing is really concretely done, to just get your patient to really understand. Now I'll tell you a few things really that's very dear to me, but very. Now, when you are as a diabetes sufferer, first of all, I brought this analogy. Please don't take offense to anything, because that's the way I really feel. I look at you and you are the shard on the outside, but actually with diabetes, you are the Grenfell Tower, ladies and gentlemen. That's who you are inside, because you're burnt. You burn holes everywhere, and you don't know it. And the fact is very simple. It took me 16 months to lose 3 stones, which is fine, but it took me 3 years, over 3 years, to really adjust my mind to what I wanted to say, to do, the way I wanted to go. You go into the shop and you pick one pudding, one little sweet, and you go like this. You pick it up, and then you go to the till, and you just go one in your pocket because, sorry, I don't want anybody to see it. I'm going to eat it. No, this is fact. This is fact. Now I'll tell you one story only, which will probably change my life. Beside the incident that I had with Kate, which really my vision went a bit, and I couldn't really see much. And I thought, oh God, this is terrible. And beside the point, I went to an eye test after I cured my diabetes. I had to change my glasses because my left eye has improved. So that's the key. But what was really terrifying, and if it's not, it's not, I had a petrol car, obviously high performance, put the real petrol. So I went to the station, stopped my big car, put the petrol in, go inside, see a lovely chocolate bar, which is called Energy, whatever, 100 grams. Obviously, I was already cured from my diabetes. I didn't have my diabetes. But, you know, you always still think with your brain, because the brain thinks sugar is important that I have something. So I went, pick it up, pay the petrol. No, put this different because the petrol goes to the company's thing and the chocolate is mine. So I said, okay. So get the chocolate, obviously 1 little square. And I'm sitting in the car, at this moment, sitting in the car, park the car, not where the pump is, park the car. 1 little chocolate is 100 grams. Then another little chocolate. Then obviously, it's like having 6 bananas, isn't it? I had the whole bloody chocolate. I couldn't help it. It was so infectious, I must have it. So I had my chocolate. Oh, I was so happy. Obviously, no sugar rush immediately. Now, I'm on the M40 going home, past Wembley thingy. To be honest, I should do 40, but probably I was doing 60. And out of the blue, I couldn't see. I really couldn't see. The only thing I could see, ladies and gentlemen, was the lights. Can you see those lights? Like that? The cars. So I concentrated so hard. The lights, the lights, the lights. Look at the lights behind. Look at the lights in front. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I kept cool, take the foot off the accelerator, try to guide the car on the left, making sure there were no lights coming fast on my left. And I genuinely managed to stop. Now, yesterday, just yesterday, on the same spot, and this is no lie, please, I didn't tell you this, but I saw a car. There was an accident, the car turned, really bad, because there was 4 fire engines and other thing. That could have been me and other people involved, because I couldn't see, because I was greedy to have my sugar, and to not have the knowledge when I'm well or not well. I think in life, what we need to do, we need to look at ourselves and say, am I well doing this, or am I better doing this? And then you judge yourself and you go along. If we all make a little effort, instead of dropping a napkin in there or a t-shirt, but put it in the right place, perhaps we will be cleaner. We change our way of life. And I don't call my style of eating a diet. Mine is a way of life. Ladies and gentlemen, 6 years, I lost 3.5 stones. And the leanest I've ever been, I'm only 13 stone 12 this morning, 10, I was 14.4. Here, if you go like this goes in. That's true. When I was in the army, I used to be a paratrooper. That was very lean, believe me. So it isn't the fact that I need to tell you my story because you know it, but it's the fact that I would like you to really take notice that I do care, and I do really care for what we can do and how we can go about. Not Brexit. That's called bollocks Brexit. No, we need to be more precise. We need to be much more sure that we do something for the benefit of others and ourselves first. I'm so proud that I can barely stand on one leg and do things like that. I'm so proud that I can go like this. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I was at home, let's say happiness of a person, okay? Twice it's happened in my life. The first time I had a back operation, I couldn't run. I was in Barbados for recovering because obviously that's where you go to. Papi, come on, don't be silly. I'm rich and famous and sexy and amazing. You would have gone to Barbados, wouldn't you? And obviously I'm very modest, as you know. Running along the beach was the biggest, amazing feelings. I used to play football for Romford United. You don't know because you're American, but don't worry about it. No, don't worry. So running was amazing. It was the greatest feelings. A couple of years ago, I don't know what it was. I went home and I said to my children, they were over there, I said, boys, look what I can do. And they looked at me like I was a complete idiot. I'm serious. And I said, look what I can do. I can run backwards. Like this. And I said, now sit down and explain. I said, do you know what peripheral neuropathy means to me? Do you know when you can't feel your feet? Do you understand when you get up 7 times a night to go to the loo? I said, but do you know something, boys? I never took any medicine whatsoever. That's the key of my life. Never done any, there's medical, and you know, David, there's no medical proof that I took anything because there was never a prescription. So my fault was food, just food, nothing else but food. They got me into such a trouble and perhaps losing my limbs at some point. I could have had the one that goes like this. I wouldn't shoot the wife, but I could have had my legs amputated. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, the food got me into trouble, and the food has gotten me out of trouble. Now, one of the most important things is that I have a wife which she genuinely, I think she's amazing by doing recipes. She just is. She just has that kind of knowledge. Meeting Jan and David Unwin has been a godsend, really. And Jenny Phillips, she's been absolutely tremendous. Really, really, really. Very supportive and also knowledgeable. I like knowledge. So reality is that I'm in a better place than I ever would have been. And my motto has been quality, quantity, and movement. Quality is important, what you fuel yourself with. Quantity is also very important. And movement is part of that. That was what I said to begin with. I don't think it's gone in the book, but it doesn't matter. The other thing that I have, and I said this very clearly, I have one big regret. The biggest of my life ever is not to have known that certain food was really damaging me, and it was unable me to really perform and be alert and be the person that I can be, I want to be. So this is my story in a nutshell, but if you want a bigger story, get the Daily Mail, I'll tell you all about it. And also, if you go out, we are out by the last of the books, so I don't have to bring it back home. It'd be brilliant. But having said all that, ladies and gentlemen, really, I speak from the heart. I tell you the way I really feel. I told you I don't have to have a script because the script is within me. And I can see where we go wrong. I really can. I can touch it. It's feasible, tangible. And also, I would like to say that it's the first time ever that I come to a convention, the first time ever that I sit all day on one chair, because I don't do that. But I have to say, I've got no regrets on that. I have learned, I've listened, I really have listened. And I'm very grateful that people here in this room, they're trying to change a few things. I sincerely hope that your quest is going to be my quest, our quest, to really make this world that we have poisoned a little bit better for the future that we're going to have. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to introduce now Jenny Phillips, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giancarlo. So, Jenny Phillips, I'm the nutritionist to the Caldesis. So, we've been working together now for a few years, and it's been exciting times. I think we might have your blood results up here somewhere. Yes. So, Katie mentioned the very high reading of 79 millimoles, and then you can see that if you go up, 45, 40. So, that was through just food. We don't know why you weren't offered medication at that point in time, but thank goodness for low carb. So, what a cracking picture there, that roast pork, because obviously we had to take the starchiness out of Giancarlo's diet, and for him, although most of his diet was really healthy, lots of vegetables, good quality protein, he had too much of the wheat in form of pasta mainly. And that was the bit we really had to tackle. So how do you tell an Italian pasta chef that you can't have pasta anymore? And we did run some blood tests, actually. There's a panel called Cyrex, which is a very detailed reaction against wheat. So it looks at 24 wheat antibodies, of which you had reds in many, many, many of them. And that was very useful because that showed very clearly that wheat was very harmful, not just from the diabetic point of view, but just also from the autoimmune point of view. And of course, you also had the psoriatic arthritis. You'd been on methotrexate in the past as well. And so it was really brilliant that we could move his diet on with that knowledge. So that was very helpful. And as well as taking things out of the diet, you've got to put things back in. And if you ask anybody what diet they're on, very often they'll throw at you, oh, I'm sugar-free, I'm wheat-free, I'm dairy-free. And you have to really coax out of them, well, what are you eating, what are you putting back in? Now, Giancarlo, you have a massive advantage sitting on your left because Katie is the most creative cook I have ever come across. And she was able to transition typical Italian fare that Giancarlo had been brought up with into low-carb versions. So, for instance, in their restaurant last night, we had low-carb lasagna. And that was made, the actual lasagna sheets are made with spinach and egg and a little bit of psyllium. And it's amazing. So you can still have the foods you love, but you can have it in a way that's safe for your body. So because of this shared experience with the patient story and the fantastic recipes from Katie and then the science from the nutrition side from me, we really wanted to get together and share this so that more people could come onto the low-carb, healthy fat way of living, but we don't think there's a one-size-fits-all. I'll touch on that in a moment. So we had this idea of a book that we'd do together, your 12th, my 2nd, and we were really hopeful that this might be a resource for the medical profession, something that could potentially be used with patients to help explain the science behind diabetes and then provide the solution in a way that was just delicious. And so you can imagine how delighted we were to meet the Unwins, Jen and David, who agreed to come in on the project. And it was a great time because we got together quite a lot of weekends, really brainstorming the messages we wanted to communicate with the science, sharing recipes, and really coming out with the framework for a book which we could then speak to a publisher about. The science has been really important, and we're quite encouraged by the comments on Amazon from readers that they really like it, and it really helps them to understand why we're getting on board with this particular diet. And really, that three key points we wanted to get behind. And the first is, and not a lot of people know this, they truly don't, but the human body has two fuels. You can run on glucose, but you can also run on fat. And when you understand that, it opens up much more opportunity. So you can either eat fat or you can live off the land and burn body fat, and that's what you did when you lost your 3.5 stone. So our message is that you eat well and you just don't eat as often if you want to restrict your calories. So we did include fasting as well. Giancarlo didn't particularly like breakfast. He used to force it down. Well, now he doesn't have to, because he knows with the right food he can last for longer without being hungry and just burn body fat if he needs to. That was our first message. You don't have to have carbs. People almost think if they don't have carbs they're going to keel over, and it's just not true. Secondly, we explained the insulin story, that diabetes type 2 is about high insulin levels initially at least, and so we gave that information, and particularly in a fat-phobic world, it was really important to communicate that actually insulin is the fat storage hormone. And once people got on board with that, that's very powerful. And then thirdly, you've seen this picture today, but ours in a different colour, we have the infographics, which are now nice indoors. So how fantastic that this information is within a cookbook with delicious solutions in terms of recipes. So really, the science was an important part of that. And another point I'd just like to make is I don't think there is a one-size-fits-all, and Robert, you touched on that earlier in terms of it's about real food. Now, some people can tolerate bread, preferably sourdough, because metabolically they're capable of managing that, whereas Giancarlo, you definitely can't. And Katie and I are somewhere in the middle because we like to try and keep our weight within a reasonable scale. So we came up with a carb scale, so that gave people flexibility. And what it does is it allows the reader to answer a really simple quiz. It's not diagnostic, it's about how you feel, because at the end of the day, if you're metabolically challenged, you're going to be feeling really rough, you're going to be sleeping more, you're going to be hungry all the time, and if that's you, then you would be well advised to really tighten up on the carbs. But if you're fit and lean, then you've got more flexibility. And so it was very important for us to get this message that it's not just low carb and no other way, but it's about quality of food. And get eating right for your type. And this is a double-page spread that I just think really typifies what we're trying to communicate. If you like the starchiness on the left, you know what? There's much more exciting stuff on the right. So on the right, it's all low-carb, healthy fats, and we get a great response to this spread. And it does involve more time in the kitchen, and I often say to clients, you've got to think like an Italian. Stop thinking about cooking as a chore and a job to be done as quickly as possible. Actually, you could put eating into that bracket for some people as well. Italians live in the kitchen, they all cook together, and if you can embrace it more as a hobby, it's less tiresome. But also we do include tips for people, because busy lives need shortcuts too. So it was an exciting project, and I'm not supposed to do that one, am I? Sorry. I've got to go back. That's for you to launch. An exciting project. It took 2 years to develop our baby, and it was born 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So, Katie, over to you.
Well, that's it. We can all stand up if you like. So this is our baby. It has 3 mothers and it has 2 fathers, and we're very proud of it. And that's it, really. We just wanted to show you a couple of spreads from the inside.
The bread is amazing.
Jenny's lovely peanut butter cake. Sorry, where are you? Jen Unwin's lovely peanut butter cake at the end there. And that's it, really. And that's the pasta that we've developed here, which is not pasta at all. It's white cabbage cut and cooked to look like pasta in butter and black pepper, which we now serve in our restaurant, because that was also a dilemma for us, having Italian restaurants selling lots of pasta. How can we condone that? So we now offer people the choice. David Unwin was on it us for ages and ages. You've got to put LC on your menu. You've got to offer choices. So I'm very pleased to say that we have in both our restaurants now you can come and have your gorgeous ragu on cabbage or pasta. You have a choice.
Last thing that I would like to say, because of my eating habits, I genuinely eat, say, 7 o'clock in the evening. Like last night at dinner, I haven't had anything until we had lunch today. So just 2 cups of coffee. I like black coffee. But really, now I'm going to have dinner, probably maybe. But and that's it really. But I eat twice a day. But I don't feel the urge of eating or grazing. The other thing that I wanted to mention that is so, so important, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't feel well, when something is wrong, don't forget you need a treat. A treat is important. We discussed that at length. You don't live in this earth as a prison. It's so vitally important that when you feel a bit something, you have a treat. A treat is a little bit of chocolate or something naughty if you wish, but just a little bit.
And dark
But because your taste bud is changed enormously, a Kit Kat is an absolute disgusting thing you could ever think in your life.
But he used to love them.
I used to eat the 3 at a time, so I know. So really, the whole thing is a mindset, so important, and people talk about it. There's a lot of psychology behind this. You really need to be strong, and you need to follow your instinct, and you need to listen to yourself. And honestly, grazing is out of the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.